My name is Amanda Lloyd. I'm a program director for global programs at the Penn Institute for Urban Research. And for the last few years, I've been working with the Guangzhou Institute for Urban Innovation on a new assessment around urban innovation ecosystems. The reason it's called Civitas Novus is it's Latin for new city. And we wanted a term that was very broadly appropriate to a new idea of what cities and the potential of cities can be, and how important innovation is. That the city of today is going to look very different from the city in 50 years. And we wanted to reflect that in the name of the assessment. The original purpose came out of discussions that we had early on in the pandemic, actually, somewhere in 2020. We were talking about the fact that most people associate innovation in cities with technology. And particularly with, say, medical or with some other type of, often it's medical, but often just any type of technological development. So attracting entrepreneurs, attracting new businesses, startups, that type of thing. And no one was really focusing on innovation as a public sector necessity yet. In fact, most, even today, if I can, we are here at the World Urban Forum, and one of the innovation sessions is all about technology. So again, we were trying to shift that conversation away from technology and to talk about it as a management and a city process instead. We spent a long time discussing how to get the best questions to get the right type of framework in mind. So for us, it wasn't just the set of topics. I think a lot of people discuss these topics, broadly. But for us, it was really about generating really, really good discussions and getting everybody at the table to have conversations like, oh, I didn't know you did this, or, oh, I had no idea that this was how our city worked. And so for us, it was about crafting the right kinds of questions and generating a really good conversation. So when we worked with Kocaeli in Turkey, for instance, many of the managers who were there had never worked with each other before, had never had this conversation before with each other. And there was a lot of, they thought, well, I can answer the question for myself. But they never thought to ask the question of everybody else they work with before. And they all had different answers. And I think that was a really important element of this. For me, satisfying to see people make connections for the first time across departments or divisions that they had never thought to ask about before. Well, there's a lot of words in here that we could use. However, obviously the first one is innovation. But I want to differentiate innovation from invention. A lot of people mistake innovation for invention, meaning it has to be something completely new or novel that no one has ever done before, and that is not the case. It's really important to say that innovation is a shared idea that can then be implemented in a city. It can be new to the city, but it doesn't have to be new. Broadly speaking, it just needs to be something that has to be learned, adapted, and perfected for their own context. So that would be one key word. I think a second one, ideally, is the term we use is competencies, which really means that innovation and this assessment is about learning and cooperatively, particularly. So I would actually call it maybe radical learning or radical competencies, in the sense that there's an entire ecosystem of experts in a city level who need to understand how innovation works better, and how to make innovation work for them. So that's another key word. And I think finally the third word I would use is ecosystem. It's used all the time now in terms of systems, but that's exactly what innovation requires. It requires radical collaboration, which is a term talked about but very difficult to accomplish. And it requires everybody at the city level to work as one, which is, again, not something that is terribly common in cities. That's why we emphasize ecosystem, because all the pieces are tied together, and everyone needs to work together or at least complement each other in order to make the systems work. We are definitely in a revision stage with our pilot testing. We are trying to be innovative as well. So part of innovation is about rethinking as you go along and coming up with new solutions and reevaluating. So as we do pilot cities, especially like Kojeli and other conversations we've had with cities, we're learning more about what questions work, which questions need a little bit of tweaking, how to frame the questions a little bit better, and also how to contextualize them. So we're still evaluating, we're still making changes, and hopefully in the next year we'll have talked with a few more cities and come up with a assessment that will be both flexible and adaptable. So if cities need to pick from a couple set of questions based off of their situation, they can do that. So we're not trying to make it into a universal set of questions. We know cities need context. So it's more like we're creating a suite or a portfolio of questions in the long run. So as cities learn, they can get more advanced as well, and they can take on more complicated ideas and pieces of the ecosystem as well.